In 2009, a hunter uploaded a sobbing 14-minute confession claiming he'd shot something in the Oregon woods that stood upright, had 5 fingers, and screamed in a voice he still hears in his sleep. Then he buried it alone and told no one for a year. The video got 12 views and vanished until forensic experts recently analyzed it and concluded he was showing every marker of genuine trauma, not deception. So if he's finally been proven credible after 15 years of silence, why does he still refuse to go back and show anyone where the body is buried? In the fall of 2009, a man sat alone in his truck on a dirt road somewhere in rural Oregon. The engine was off. Rain tapped against the windshield. He held a cheap digital camera in his hands, the kind you could buy at any store back then for about $50. His fingers were shaking. He pressed the record and started talking. For the next 14 minutes, he cried, paused, wiped his face, and told a story that would haunt him for the rest of his life. When he was done, he uploaded the video to a small forum where people shared strange stories about things in the woods. The video got 12 views. Then the forum shut down. The file vanished into the dead corners of the internet, and for 15 years, almost no one knew it ever existed. The man never spoke of it again. He thought maybe that was the end. It was not the end. His name was Dale. I will not give you his last name because he asked me not to. He is still alive, still out there, and still does not want to be found. But I can tell you who he was back then. Dale grew up in a small town in Oregon, the kind of place where logging trucks rumble through before sunrise and everyone knows your father's name. He joined the Army right out of high school and served for 6 years. After that, he came home and worked in the timber industry like his dad and his granddad before him. He was not a man who told tall tales. His co-workers said he was quiet, showed up on time, and kept to himself. He had a wife and a small house on 3 acres. He hunted deer every fall, same as most men in that part of the state. He owned 4 rifles and knew how to use each one. There was nothing strange about Dale. Nothing that would make you look twice. That is what makes this so hard to explain. In October of 2008, Dale went hunting alone. This was not unusual. He often went out by himself, deep into the coast range where the trees grow thick and the fog sits low in the mornings. He knew those woods well. He had walked them since he was a boy. On the second day of his trip, he was moving through heavy brush when he saw something. It was about 40 yards away, partly hidden by ferns and fallen logs. He saw dark fur. He saw bulk. He thought it was a bear. Black bears were common in that area. He did not think twice. He raised his rifle, took aim, and fired. The sound that came after the shot was wrong. Dale said it was not a roar. It was not a grunt. It was a scream, high and sharp, like something in deep pain, but also like something trying to say a word it could not finish. He stood frozen for a few seconds. The scream stopped. The woods went quiet. He told himself it was just a bear. Bears can make strange sounds when hurt. He walked toward the spot where the shape had fallen. The ferns were bent and broken. There was blood on the leaves. And then he saw it. It was not a bear. It was lying on its side in the dirt, still except for small twitches in its hands. Dale said the hands were what broke him. 5 fingers, a thumb. But the thumb sat in the wrong place, too high on the palm, bent at an angle that looked almost backwards. The arms were long, longer than any person's arms should be. The body was covered in dark hair, matted with mud and rain. The face was flat, with a heavy brow and a wide nose. The eyes were open. Dale said they looked at him, not like an animal looks at you, like a person does, like someone who knows what is happening and cannot stop it. It was small. That was the part he kept coming back to in the video. It was small, not a full-grown creature. A young one, a child maybe, if things like this have children. Dale stepped back. His boots slipped in the mud. He sat down hard on a log and did not move for a long time. He said he could not breathe right. His chest felt tight. His hands would not stop shaking. The thing on the ground stopped twitching. It did not move again. He buried it. He did not know what else to do. He dug a hole with a folding shovel from his pack. The ground was soft from the rain. It took him 2 hours. He did not look at the face again while he worked. When he was done, he covered the mound with branches and wet leaves. He marked the spot in his mind, a crooked tree, a split rock, a rise in the land to the east. Then he walked back to his truck and drove home. He did not tell his wife, he did not tell anyone. He tried to forget, but he could not forget. The next few months, Dale stopped sleeping through the night. He would wake up at 3 in the morning, gasping, the sound of that scream still ringing in his ears. He stopped hunting. He sold 2 of his rifles. His wife asked what was wrong, and he could not answer. He started drinking, not a lot, but enough. He would sit on the porch after dark and stare at the tree line behind his house like he was waiting for something to step out of it. His wife said he changed. She said he became a man she did not know anymore. By the summer of 2009, she moved out. She thought maybe he had done something bad on one of his trips. She was right. She just did not know what. That fall, alone in his truck on that dirt road, Dale finally said it out loud. He turned on the camera and he confessed. Not to the world, just to the lens, just to himself. He thought maybe if he told the truth once, the weight would lift. He thought maybe 12 strangers on a strange forum could carry what he could not. But the video vanished, and the weight stayed right where it was, pressing down on his chest every night for the next 15 years. The forum where Dale posted his confession was called Deep Woods Encounters. It was a small site run by one man out of his basement in Idaho. The pages were plain. The text was small. There were no ads, no sponsors, no famous names attached to it. Maybe 200 people visited on a good week. Most of them came to share campfire stories or argue about blurry photos. When Dale's video appeared in October of 2009, it sat at the bottom of the new post section for 3 days before anyone clicked on it. The title he gave it was simple. It just said, "I need to tell someone what I did." 12 people watched it. 2 of them left comments. The first one said, "Nice try, but too long." The second one said, "This is obviously fake. Try harder next time." Dale never replied. He deleted his account 8 days later. By the end of that year, Deep Woods Encounters shut down for good. The man who ran it got sick and never brought it back online. Every post, every photo, every story on that site disappeared into nothing. Dale's confession went with it. For most people, that would have been the end. But nothing really disappears on the internet. Not completely. Somewhere on an old server in a forgotten backup file, the video still existed. It just sat there in the dark, waiting. No one was looking for it. No one even knew it was gone. Meanwhile, Dale's life fell apart in slow motion. After his wife left, he stayed in the house alone for about a year. His cousin, a man named Ray, told me that Dale stopped answering the phone. He would drive out to check on him every few weeks and find Dale sitting on the porch, staring at nothing. The yard went to weeds, the gutters filled with leaves. Dale lost weight. His face went thin and gray. Ray asked him once what was wrong, and Dale just shook his head and said something bad happened, and I cannot fix it. Ray thought maybe it was the divorce. He did not push. By 2011, Dale sold the house. He moved to a trailer park on the other side of the county, a place where no one knew his name. He got a job at a hardware store, stocking shelves and cutting keys. He showed up, did his work, and went home. He did not make friends. A coworker from that time told me Dale was polite but empty. He said it was like talking to a man who had already left the room. Dale did not drink at work, but his hands shook sometimes. He flinched at loud noises. One time, a customer dropped a metal pipe on the concrete floor, and Dale went white and had to sit down in the back for 10 minutes. No one knew why. He never explained. He sold his last 2 rifles in 2012. He told the buyer he was done with hunting for good. The buyer asked if he was sure, and Dale said he was more sure of that than anything else in his life. After that, he would not even walk into the sporting goods section of the store. His boss moved him to paint and electrical instead. Dale never complained. He just stayed away from anything that reminded him of the woods. In 2015, he moved again, this time to Nevada, to a small town in the high desert where the trees are short and thin and the land is flat and open. Ray said Dale told him he needed to see the sky. He needed to live somewhere without shadows. Ray thought that was a strange thing to say, but he did not argue. Dale was a grown man. He could live wherever he wanted. They talked on the phone maybe twice a year after that. Dale never mentioned Oregon. He never mentioned the hunting trip. He never mentioned the thing he buried in the dirt. Ray figured whatever it was, Dale had made peace with it. He was wrong. Then in the summer of 2023, a woman named Michelle was doing something strange. She collected old internet files. She searched for dead websites and forgotten forums, looking for stories and videos that had slipped through the cracks. She was not famous. She did not work for a university or a TV network. She just liked finding things that other people had lost. One night, she came across a backup archive of deep woods encounters. Most of the files were broken. The images would not load. The text was scrambled. But one video file still worked. It was 14 minutes and 22 seconds long. The title said, "I need to tell someone what I did." Michelle watched it 3 times in a row. By the end, her hands were cold. She said later that something about the video felt different from the usual hoaxes. The man on the screen was not performing. He was not building suspense or adding details to make the story scarier. He was flat. He was tired. He kept stopping to breathe. At one point, he covered his face with both hands and did not speak for almost 30 seconds. When he talked about the creature's hands, he looked away from the camera like he could not stand to remember. When he talked about burying it, his voice cracked and he had to start the sentence over twice. Michelle started digging. She pulled apart every frame of the video, looking for clues. Dale had not said exactly where he was, but he had mentioned landmarks. A crooked tree, a split rock, a ridge to the east. He had mentioned the weather, heavy rain, fog in the morning, a cold snap that came early that year. Michelle cross-referenced those details with weather records from October 2008. The data matched. The Oregon Coast Range had seen 3 days of unusual rain and a temperature drop that week. She searched old logging maps and found a network of dirt roads in the area Dale seemed to describe. She found news archives mentioning increased black bear activity that fall. And then she found something else. In a database kept by the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, there was a report from October 2008. A hiker in the Coast Range had heard strange sounds over 2 nights. He described them as distress calls, high and sharp, almost like screaming. On the 3rd night, the sound stopped. The hiker said the silence felt worse than the noise. He never heard them again. Michelle read that report 5 times. The dates matched. The location was close. The description of the sounds matched what Dale said he heard after he pulled the trigger. Something had screamed in those woods that week, and then something went quiet. Michelle knew she had found something real. She just did not know yet how to prove it. Michelle knew she could not do this alone. She had the video, she had the weather data, she had the report from the hiker who heard screaming in the woods. But she was just one person with a laptop and a lot of questions. If she wanted anyone to take this seriously, she needed experts. She needed people who studied voices and faces in the tiny ways humans give themselves away when they lie. She started making calls. The first person she reached out to was a man named Dr. David Hendricks. He had spent 20 years studying vocal patterns. He worked with lawyers, police departments, and insurance companies. His job was simple. He listened to people talk, and he could tell when something was off. He could hear stress in a voice the way a doctor hears fluid in a lung. He had testified in court over 40 times. He did not believe in Bigfoot. He made that clear right away. But he agreed to watch the video anyway, just to see what the voice told him. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe. I don't want you missing out on tomorrow's new Bigfoot story. Thanks for watching. He watched it twice. Then he watched it a 3rd time with the sound turned up and his eyes closed. He made notes on a yellow pad. When he called Michelle back, his voice was different, quieter. He said the man in the video was showing clear signs of what he called trauma recall. His speech patterns were not smooth. They broke apart at certain moments, especially when he described the creature's face and the sound it made when it was hit. His breathing changed. His pitch dropped. He repeated words and started sentences over. These were not the marks of a man telling a made-up story. These were the marks of a man reliving something that had actually happened to him. Dr. Ray Hendricks said he had seen hundreds of hoax videos in his career. People who fake stories tend to stay steady. They have practiced their lines. They hit their beats. This man was not hitting beats. He was falling apart. Dr. Hendricks said he could not prove what Dale saw in those woods, but he could say with confidence that Dale believed every word he was saying. And more than that, Dale was afraid of his own memory. The second expert was a woman named Karen Marsh. She had worked for the FBI for 15 years as a behavioral analyst. Her job had been to study criminals, witnesses, and suspects. She learned to read faces, gestures, the way people hold their bodies when they are hiding something. After she retired, she started consulting on cold cases and documentary films. She was sharp and skeptical and did not suffer fools. When Michelle sent her the video, Karen almost deleted it without watching. She had seen too many Bigfoot hoaxes to count. But something about Michelle's email made her curious. She clicked play. Karen watched the video 5 times over 2 days. She took notes on Dale's posture, his hand movements, the way his eyes moved when he spoke. She paid close attention to what he did not say. Most people who make up monster stories cannot resist adding details. They describe glowing eyes, terrible smells, unnatural speed. They want to scare you. They want you to lean in. Dale did none of that. He barely described the creature at all. He talked about its hands. He talked about its fight, and then he stopped. He spent most of the video talking about himself, his guilt, his sick stomach, the weight of the shovel in his hands, the way his arms burned from digging, the way he could not look at the face again while he worked. Karen said that was the tell. Hoaxers sell the monster, she told Michelle. They want you to believe in the thing they saw. This man was not selling a monster. He was confessing a sin. He was selling his own shame. And that, she said, was much harder to fake. Karen also noticed something else. At the end of the video, when Dale talked about why he was finally telling the truth, he did not ask for anything. He did not want fame. He did not want money. He did not even want people to believe him. He said he just needed to say it out loud once. He said he thought maybe it would help him sleep. Karen said that moment was what convinced her. A liar always wants something. Dale wanted nothing but relief, and he did not even seem to think he would get it. The third piece of the puzzle came from a man named Thomas Vance. Thomas was a researcher who had spent years mapping old logging roads and Forest Service routes in the Pacific Northwest. He had access to records most people did not even know existed. Michelle sent him everything she had. The landmarks Dale mentioned, the weather data, the hiker's report. Thomas went to work. It took him 2 weeks. He pulled up satellite images from 2008. He found old maps of timber company land in the Coast Range. He tracked road closures and seasonal access points. He cross-referenced Dale's description of the terrain with elevation data and drainage patterns. And slowly, a picture came together. There was a stretch of forest in the Coast Range that matched almost every detail Dale had given. A crooked tree on a ridge, a split rock near a creek bed, a rise in the land to the east. The roads in that area had been closed to the public in late 2008 due to storm damage. Only locals and timber workers would have known how to get in. The weather records showed heavy rain and a cold snap during the first 2 weeks of October. And the hiker's report from the BFRO database had come from a trailhead less than 4 miles away. Thomas said he could not prove that Dale had been in that exact spot, but he could say that every checkable detail in the video lined up with reality. The weather was real, the terrain was real, the road closures were real, and the screaming that the hiker heard had happened in the same window of time, in the same stretch of forest that Dale described. Thomas had been doing this kind of research for over a decade. He had debunked dozens of stories by finding the holes in them. This one had no holes. Every thread he pulled held tight. Michelle now had 3 experts, a voice analyst who said Dale was telling the truth as he knew it, a former FBI profiler who said his behavior did not match a hoaxer, and a geographic researcher who said the facts on the ground supported his story. None of them could say for certain what Dale had shot in those woods, but all of them agreed on one thing. This was not a man playing a game. This was a man carrying something heavy, and he had been carrying it alone for a very long time. Michelle had the experts. She had the data. She had a video that 3 different professionals said showed a man telling the truth. But she did not have Dale. Without him, the story was just a ghost. A voice on a screen with no face, no name, no way to prove he was even real. She needed to find him. She needed to ask him one question. Did this really happen? It took her 4 months. She started with the forum archives, but Dale had not used his real name. He had not given a location. He had not left any trail at all. So she worked backwards. She searched for missing person reports in Oregon from 2008 and 2009. She looked for divorce records in counties near the Coast Range. She reached out to logging companies and asked if anyone remembered a quiet man who quit around that time. Most of her emails went nowhere. But one day she got a call from a man named Ray. He said he was Dale's cousin. He said he had seen the video, and he said Dale was still alive. Ray did not want to give out Dale's address. He said Dale had spent 15 years trying to disappear, and he was not going to undo that with one phone call. But he agreed to pass along a message. He told Dale that a woman had found the video. He told him that experts had looked at it. He told him that people were starting to believe. A week later, Ray called Michelle back. Dale had agreed to talk, but only on the phone, and only once. The call lasted 43 minutes. Michelle recorded it with Dale's permission. His voice was older now, rougher, but it was the same voice from the video. She recognized it right away. The same flat tone, the same long pauses, the same sound of a man who had been tired for a very long time. She asked him if the video was real. He said yes. She asked him if he remembered making it. He said he remembered every second. She asked him why he posted it and then deleted his account. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said he thought maybe if he told the truth once, it would stop hurting. He said it did not stop hurting. He said nothing had ever made it stop. Michelle asked him about the experts. She told him what they had found. The voice analyst who said he was showing signs of real trauma. The FBI profiler who said his behavior did not match a liar. The researcher who said every detail in his story checked out. She thought maybe this would bring him some peace. She thought maybe he would be glad that someone finally believed him. She was wrong. Dale went quiet again. When he spoke, his voice was thick. He said he did not want anyone to find the video. He said he did not want to be right. He said he had spent 15 years hoping someone would tell him it was just a bear. He said no one ever did. She asked him about the burial site. She asked if he could find it again. He said yes. He said he could walk straight to it even now. The landmarks were burned into his brain, the crooked tree, the split rock, the rise in the land to the east. He said he saw them every time he closed his eyes. She asked if he would ever go back. He said no. His voice got hard when he said it. He said some things should stay buried. He said he had already taken enough from them. Michelle asked what he meant by them. Dale did not answer right away. Then he said something that made her skin go cold. He said that night after he buried it, he heard sounds in the woods. Not the screaming from before. Something else. Low calls, back and forth, like voices looking for someone who was not answering. He said he hid in his truck with the doors locked until sunrise. He said he never went back to that part of the forest again. He said he thought about it sometimes. What they must have thought when they found the grave. What they must have felt. He said that was the part that never let him sleep. The call ended soon after that. Dale said he had nothing more to say. He said he hoped Michelle would leave his name out of whatever she wrote. He said he did not want cameras or reporters or hunters with shovels showing up at that spot in the woods. He said he just wanted to be forgotten. Michelle promised she would protect him. She asked one last question before he hung up. She asked if he wanted people to believe him now. Dale was quiet for a long time. Then he said no. He said belief would not change what he did. He said it would not bring anything back. He said the only thing he wanted was the one thing he could never have. He wanted to undo it. The line went dead. Michelle sat in her apartment with the recording still playing static. She thought about what it meant to have proof that no one asked for. She thought about a man who carried a secret for 15 years and never wanted it found. She thought about the experts who said he was credible, and the cousin who said he was broken, and the hiker who heard screaming in the woods one October and then heard nothing at all. The video exists. You can watch it if you know where to look. The voice is real. The pain is real. The details match the records. 3 professionals say this man is not lying, and the only person who could settle the question forever, the only one who knows where the body is buried, does not want the world to believe him. So what do we do with that? What happens when the proof is not a victory? What happens when the man with the answers has spent his whole life hoping he was wrong? Dale is out there somewhere in the Nevada desert, living in a small town with no trees and a big empty sky. He does not hunt anymore. He does not talk about the woods. He wakes up at night sometimes and hears a sound that is not there. A scream, a call, a silence that feels worse than noise. He knows what he buried. He knows where it is. And he will never go back. Some truths do not set you free. Some truths just sit on your chest and press down until you learn to breathe around them. Dale learned, but he never stopped feeling the weight.